Representative Bentley, you're recognized to present the bill.
Well, colleagues, don't worry. I'm here with another non-controversial bill for you. Oh, it's been a long session. I've enjoyed getting to know all of you new members a bunch. So let's start with this bill, House Bill 1610. It is a definition or attempt at a definition of what a public meeting is, written in 1967. Our current law is ambiguous at best and sets up a whole lot of controversy. People have no idea really what is a public meeting, what is the number. Some people have sued, some people have not, so it's a lot of ambiguity, and the Supreme Court has asked the legislature on multiple times to please come up with a definition of a public meeting and what is the number so we know exactly what it is. And so, in doing some research, I looked at it and said, well, what do some other states do? What is their definition of a public meeting? And so in 47 other states, the definition of a public meeting is a quorum of or a majority of the members. So if there's a quorum of or a majority of the members of that governing body, they can do business, they can vote, and so that's a public meeting. And the press needs to be there, and they need to cover who votes what and what goes on in that meeting so we can get a good, so the people can know what's going on. That's what a public meeting is. So I thought, well, if 47 other states do that, including all the states around Arkansas, that's a great idea. So that's what I brought to committee. I said, let's do a quorum of that governing body, and that will be our definition, and that will suffice what the Supreme Court has asked us to do. And I brought that to committee, and it failed because people were just a little concerned. They heard a lot from other people that we're gutting the FOIA bill, we're killing it, we're just running amok, we're just ruining all of our liberties in America, and everything is going to go astray. And so the committee members asked me, Mary, can you go meet with the FOIA task force, see what we can do to come for a compromise? And so while we were on our wonderful spring break, on Friday before we even started our spring break, I did a wonderful Zoom call with the FOIA task force as they reamed me out and said I was horrible, could not believe that I was trying to do what I was trying to do, that if more than two people meet, then we're going to have a horrible FOIA, and the end of the earth is on its way. So, but I did visit with them, and I will say it was not the members of the task force. There was two constituents that listened in that just monopolized the time. So I asked the FOIA test members, can we meet in person? Can you bring me a compromise? I'm willing to compromise. I'm coming off what a quorum is. What's your compromise? So during spring break on a Wednesday, I drove up here to the Capitol to meet with the FOIA task force, and did anybody bring me an amendment, a compromise? No, nothing. No compromise, no nothing. Either keep it as it is or do nothing, because we're not going to amend anything. So I came here on Monday and brought what I thought, okay, so I prayed about it. People are saying some special interest group, asking what to do. No, I said, God, help me. What can we do? I can't. I'm trying to figure it out. What's something good? Because if you come up with a number and I just put a number in there, it's not equal. It's not going to be equal because there's different sizes of governing bodies. Some are 5, some are 7, some are 9. So I did. I said, God, come help me something. So I really felt like I had some wisdom from the Lord. Just do 1/3 of the governing body. So no matter what the size of the governing body is, it will be an equal amount. So there'll be equal representation, because I didn't want this to get sued. I want us to have a good bill. And so no special interest came to me. I came up with some I thought was a good idea. I feel it's wisdom from the Lord. I'll just give him the credit for that. So 1/3 of the governing body. If less than that gets together, then we can talk. What would it be like if you and I, look at the members around you, if you had never been able to talk to one of those members during this session, could you get something done this session? Could you have gotten something done this session? I guess if we had this imposed on us, the quiet room would actually be quiet, wouldn't it? Because we couldn't even talk to each other. And that's what we're talking about right here. So right now, in statute, a JP cannot pick up the phone and call another JP and ask them about concerns in their county. It's illegal. It's illegal in the United States of America, in Arkansas, for a JP to pick up the phone and call another JP and ask them their concerns about what's going on in the county and work together. Is that freedom-loving? Is that freedom-loving in America, that a JP can't pick up the phone and call another JP on the phone? No, it's not. I'd say that's communism. It really is. It's ridiculous to me that they cannot do that, or a school board member. And I know that people are so sick and tired of Washington, D.C. I understand that. I'm sick and tired of Washington, D.C. I'm disgusted with what goes on out there, but we can't take our frustrations from Washington, D.C. and press it on our JPs that live in our community, that are our neighbors, that go to church with us, and make no money. I mean, school board members get zero, and yet they're being harassed with lawsuits left and right if they sit in the bleachers at a ball game and talk to another school board member. Someone's throwing a lawsuit at them because they're obviously talking about school board business and they didn't call a public meeting. Because if they don't give a 2-hour notice and do a public meeting, they can't talk to each other. We can't even get people to run for school board anymore because they're being so harassed. And that's what I'm trying to fix with a very simple fix. It's not opening up deep SART meetings. It's allowing people to communicate, to work together, just like you and I do. It's not just passing laws. When session is over, I'm going to call Rick Beck about a problem we've got in our district, and we're going to talk. We're going to work about it. We're going to meet with our senators in the area. We're going to meet with our mayors, our county judges, and all that. We can't allow our JPs to do that and our school board members to do that. A couple of JPs can't even go and tour the jail without giving a 2-hour public notice and having somebody there to watch it. It's ridiculous what we've done. We have created an unconstitutional imbalance of power with this bill is what we've done. And I'm trying to restore the balance of power. These people were duly elected. They're duly elected to serve their constituents, and I'm trying to let them do that, to do a better job like you and I do. What would it be like if every time you want to do a bill, you have to go get the approval of the governor and get the governor's word on it? Would that work very well for us? Heavens no. It's ineffective, it's inefficient, it's ineffective, and I want good county government. And for all those freedom-loving people to say I'm a rhino because I want to fix local government, I'm sorry. I believe that good people are elected. Just because someone elected doesn't make you wicked or evil, but somehow because you get elected, you're a wicked and evil person, and we can't trust you to talk to somebody else because you're going to make a horrible decision and you're going to give yourself a bunch of money or vote yourself in a bunch of money. So I think that you guys are getting a lot of texts from people that have absolutely no idea what this bill does. I got a text from my local newspaper in Yale County. Don't vote on 1610. It's going to top. People won't be able to get hold of legal notices. I'm like, this has nothing to do with legal notices. This has to do with what is the definition of a public meeting so we can have good government. I want to make sure I get everything covered here, what I've done. So just to say that, okay, let's get back with the FOIA task force. So then I want to bring this up because I know that you guys are getting texts about this. So I brought this bill forward. We did a third of a governing body, and I filed that on Monday. And the FOIA task force scheduled a meeting when I was in public health during session. I can't leave my public health committee meeting. People are there expecting me to vote on their bills and meet with the FOIA task force. I'm sorry. We were in committee. I couldn't meet with them, and I knew what they were going to vote on. They had already told me they were not going to support my bill. I didn't really think I should leave a public health committee meeting and go listen to them tell me they weren't going to support my bill. I knew they were not going to. So I think I've answered everybody's questions on this. Again, this does not stop anybody from reaching out to their elected officials and hearing how they feel on it. Wouldn't it be great if JPs could co-sponsor somebody else's ordinance? Wouldn't it be great if school board members could meet together and decide good things for their district? That's all I'm asking for. We're not ending FOIA by any means. I'm not stopping public meetings. Every vote will be recorded. Every vote will be in public. If there's not a quorum present, they can't conduct business. But maybe they can go out to dinner and somebody won't harass them because they've gone out to dinner with a friend. Maybe they can sit at the ball game with their friends and talk about things and not be accused of holding an illegal public meeting. Somehow we've got to stop the hatred. As we sat in this committee meeting last night and got this vote passed through, it's not us against them. It's not us against them. If everybody could use their anger and maybe work together to make good things happen in our county, what good things would be going on right now? Instead of just trying to say everybody that's elected is wicked and evil and we're doing horrible things. Actually, we're trying to do some very good things. I think I've answered all the questions. I'm really proud of this bill. I think we're doing a great thing here. I think we're making a difference. I think we're untying the hands of our public officials to really serve their constituents, and that's where my heart is. So I'll take questions if anybody has any questions on this bill. All right. I'll wait to see if anybody has to speak for or against.
Representative Bentley has explained the bill. Would anyone like to speak against the bill? For the bill? Representative Brown, you're recognized to speak for the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I served one term as a Justice of the Peace before I ran for the Arkansas House, and I could not believe that we were not able to get together and chat about things. We had a big watershed issue. We had the Broadway Bridge, double basket handle arches to discuss. We had all kinds of big money issues and flooding issues, and I didn't know every part of the county. I didn't know everything there was to know about county budgeting, and it would have been so nice if we could have discussed things. I mean, even 2 or 3 of us get together. We had a 15-member quorum court, so 1/3 of that court would have been 5 members. Usually it was just 2 or 3 of us, and then we'd say, oops, we can't do this. We have to call a meeting and call in the press, or we can't even talk to each other. The current statute, I think, is ridiculous. I think it is silly. I think it is just the worst bill or the worst statute I've ever heard of. And people who are elected to make decisions for their county or their school board or whatever, they should be able to discuss things with each other. And that's not trying to hide things from the public, because then you do meet in public at the quorum court or at the school board, and that's where you can ask questions and have more discussion. But I think it's great to be able to pick each other's brains. I didn't know everything there was to know about watersheds or water pollution or any of that, and it was really very limiting not to be able to talk to my colleagues. And for that reason, I am voting for this, and I would like to encourage all of you to do that. And I know that you've probably been getting pushback maybe from your county committees or wherever, but I just told one of my county committee members that called me or texted me about this bill today. I called him up and I said, look, I'm voting for this bill. And we talked about it, and it's not a matter of trying to hide anything from the public. It truly is not. We should be able to talk to our colleagues, and I would appreciate a good vote. Thank you.
Representative Brown has spoke for the bill. Would anyone like to speak against the bill? For the bill, Representative McGrew, you're recognized to speak for the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just real quick, I was a JP. I think it's real important you are able to discuss issues with other JPs. This is very limited, but most importantly, my wife is a JP, and I'm going home this evening, so I would appreciate a good vote.
Representative McGrew has spoke for the bill. Would anyone like to speak against the bill? For the bill, Representative Long, you're recognized to speak for the bill.
I was a JP for 2 terms, and I remember when I first was elected, basically you're just sort of on your own because you couldn't reach out to anybody that's been there for a while and had any experience. Usually our meetings would maybe go 1 to 2 hours once a month. If you can't get it packed, a question asked during that time, you couldn't legally get your a question answered. I really support this bill. I think it's more than reasonable, and I just can imagine how dysfunctional this place would be if we were under the same limits that the quorum courts and the school boards currently are. So I appreciate a good vote.
Representative Long has spoke for the bill. Would anyone like to speak against the bill? For the bill, Representative Bentley, you recognized to close for the bill.
All right, one thing that I forgot to address, I know that you guys are hearing different comments that this does not address serial meetings and that we'll be able to have all these serial meetings one right after another. Actually, serial meetings is addressed in another part of the statute. This does not allow for serial meetings. It's already addressed. We cannot have serial meetings. One more time, we cannot have serial meetings. It's already addressed in another part of the statute. This does not allow that, okay? And one thing I want you guys to think about, Everyone in this chamber, just a little bit ago, voted to suspend the rules that requires us to give a 2-hour public notice on our meetings so that we can practically finish session in time. We all voted for that, to suspend the rule so that we don't have to have the 2-hour public notice so we can practically finish our session. It's time for us to vote to allow for our constituents to have some practicality so they can get things done. We're not stopping freedom. We're allowing our constituents to serve our constituents well. And with that, I'd appreciate a good vote. Thank you.
Representative Bentley is closed for the bill. The question before the House is the passage of House Bill 1610. Prepare the machine, Madam Clerk. Has everyone voted? Cast up the ballot, Madam Clerk. 52 yeas, 22 nays, and 4 present. The bill is passed. Madam Clerk, read Senate Bill 341.